Good evening, wherever you are joining us from. My name is Patricia Roxton Hammond, coming to you live from our studios at Kwabenya Point 1. This is NEWSBOARD. Let's take a look at the headlines in Ghana and around the world. Ghana Health Service gives clearance for pregnant women to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Two more persons have been arrested by police over their alleged role in the sporadic shooting incident at Nima. That the electronic transaction levy bill will be resubmitted when Parliament resumes on January 25, 2022. 10 prisoners have been found guilty of raping dozens of female inmates during a violent riot at an overcrowded jail in the Democratic Republic of Congo. You can also watch us live on all our social media handles at NewTVGH. The Ghana Health Service has announced some changes to the guidelines for Ghanaians entering the country through the Kotoka International Airport. Per the earlier modification implemented during the Yuletide last year, persons aged 18 years and above arriving in Ghana from December 12, 2021 were to provide proof of full vaccination. But addressing pressmen on Wednesday, Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaje, explained that the directive has been reviewed to make it more lenient.
For international arrivals, the new guideline is that Ghanaians and resident foreigners who are partially vaccinated or unvaccinated are exempted from the requirement of full vaccination before traveling to Ghana. However, they will be offered vaccination on arrival, and if they fail to take the vaccination offer, they go on mandatory quarantine for 7 days at their own cost. So what it means is that the issue of a Ghanaian being denied entry and a resident foreigner coming in because he's unvaccinated will be changed. But when you come in, you have to get vaccinated, failing which you go a mandatory 7-day quarantine. The other cases will be considered case by case. Those who are sick and they cannot get vaccinated, we continue giving exemption for those who come up with those problems and they are exempted. And to ensure that cases do not spread, we are going to enhance our home care management to ensure strict compliance with the home management protocols for all those who are eligible for admission. What it means is that we are currently doing some checklists to see those who test positive at the airport who can self-isolate. If you meet that criteria, you are allowed to go and vaccinate, isolate, but we are maintaining a strict program to make sure that you don't really break the quarantine or isolation policy.
The Ghana Health Service has also given clearance for pregnant women who are unvaccinated to receive the COVID-19 vaccine as it moves to increase its vaccine coverage and help drive cases further down.
Pregnant women who are unvaccinated will now be vaccinated. Previously, it was not policy to vaccinate them. Now they can be vaccinated. And they are recommending that we use either Moderna or Pfizer, which is the mRNA technology, to vaccinate them.
Two more persons are in the grips of the police over their alleged role in the sporadic shooting incident at Nima on January 18, 2022. This brings to 9 the total number of suspects arrested in connection with the clashes at Nima. 7 persons were earlier arrested over the shootout, which occurred during a clash between the two gangs on Tuesday. Given an update about the incident on Wednesday, ACP Kwesi Ofori, Director of Public Affairs of the Ghana Police Service, disclosed that the extra 2 suspects were arrested at a hideout with weapons on them.
2 people were arrested at Ashalaja, where they decided to go. But thanks to the effective intel network of the police service, in collaboration with the good people of this country, we got 2 of them. And weapons, light pump action, a set of security uniform, and unregistered motorbike was retrieved from them. As I speak to you, they are in custody, assisting in investigations. And let me use this opportunity to mention the names of all those that we've arrested. The 9. We have Abdul Aziz Sulewa, Imoro Ibrahim, Bashiru Ganiyu, Muhammad Bariyu, Atarua Basan, Gariba Abdul Mumin, Abdul Gafaru Muhammad, Ilyasu Salim, and Isa Saidu. Arrests will continue. Special police exercises will continue. Targeted operations will continue. And other specially designed intel-led operations to get all the perpetrators and executives of those criminal gangs.
Moving on, the police has placed a 20,000 Ghana cedi bounty on the leaders of the 2 groups involved in violent clashes at Nima on Tuesday afternoon. The 2 groups, namely the Bombo Group and the Kumoji Group, are led by Ali Awudu and Ibrahim Hussein respectively.
The kingpins, the actual chief executives of these criminal gangs, we are doing everything possible to make sure that we pursue them, we get them, investigate them, and charge them for court. That is the leader of the Kumoji Group. He is Ali Awudu. And the other one, Bomb Group, which is led by Ali Awudu, and the Kumoji Group is led by Ibrahim Hussein. We will get them, and the police administration has placed 20,000 on their head. Anybody or any member of the public who offers credible information that leads to their arrest will be given that amount. Let me state again, 20,000 cedis have been placed on their head.
And on to some business news. The Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has said that the electronic transaction levy bill will be resubmitted when Parliament resumes on January 25, 2022. The minister, in a media briefing on Wednesday, said the e-levy is critical to rebuilding Ghana's economy.
E-levy is a necessary tool to increase our tax to GDP from circa 11 to 13% to 16% and above to guarantee that we'll pay for what we use. The e-levy will not only ensure that we move towards a more sustainable debt level, but will also ensure that we have the revenues to sustainably invest in entrepreneurship, youth employment, cybersecurity, digital and road infrastructure. The e-levy also provides a means for all Ghanaians to help support their country and grow this economy as compliant citizens, giving to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. The Lee levy will be resubmitted to Parliament this month, as Minister mentioned, from the 25th of this month. We look forward to joining hands with our honourable members of Parliament to approve the e-levy on a consensus basis so that we can collectively address the big issue of unemployment, debt sustainability, and infrastructure build-up, especially roads.
The Minister for Finance also added that government officials will from Thursday, January 20, 2022, begin a nationwide public sensitization on the need for the introduction of the controversial e-levy. According to him, officials, including himself, will personally engage citizens on the many policies and programs the government will use the revenue accrued from the levy for.
A team comprising myself, colleague ministers, and other key members of government will embark on a public engagement and sensitization program across the country planned by the Minister of Information. We intend to communicate clearly on the proposed mechanics of the e-levy, its potential benefits to the people of Ghana within the spirit of burden sharing, and that must guide us in our development efforts as we move Ghana beyond aid. As I've indicated already, we intend to use the money to create jobs and grow our private sector to employ more of our youth, accelerate the digitalization agenda to bring more convenience to Ghanaians, enhance the security of our digital platforms, aggressively expand our road infrastructure agenda, reduce our dependence on debt, and reduce the crowding out of the private sector to improve access to credit. Ladies and gentlemen, a strong recovery needs a clear plan for the future. Initiatives such as the e-levy showcases our determination to build a stronger future our country deserves.
We'll be right back with more news after this break. Welcome back. And to some international news, 10 prisoners have been found guilty of raping dozens of female inmates during a violent riot at an overcrowded jail in the Democratic Republic of Congo. 37 women and a teenage girl testified that they were repeatedly raped during a 3-day riot at Kasapa Central Prison near Lubumbashi in 2020. Some female detainees became pregnant and contracted sexually transmitted infections, including HIV.
The 10 men were fined and ordered to serve 15 additional years in jail. Although some of the inmates were too frightened to give evidence, dozens testified before a military prosecutor that they had been raped during the riot. The rundown prison facility was taken over by a group of male inmates for several days in September 2020. They set the women's section of the prison on fire, with female detainees, including a 16-year-old girl, forced to sleep in a prison yard where they were subjected to sexual assault. Some 20 inmates and a prison guard were reportedly killed during the violence before security forces regained control. The mass rapes were highlighted in reports by Human Rights Watch, who urged authorities to investigate the assaults and offer adequate care to those impacted. The campaign group said the prison, built to house 800 inmates, had almost 2,000 people in detention during the incident. It said poor hygiene, sanitation, and health care were all reported at the faculty, including warnings of a possible breakout of a riot completely ignored by senior officials.
Algeria has closed schools for 10 days and enhanced screening at airports and other control measures following a rise in coronavirus cases. It has also encouraged people to get vaccinated to counter the spread of the virus.
The decision by President Abdelmadjid Tebboune to shut schools starting from Thursday followed an emergency meeting of ministers, top health, and security officials. A statement from the presidency, however, said that it was up to the universities to determine whether to close or reschedule the classes. The country has recorded more than 220,000 coronavirus cases and over 6,000 deaths since the pandemic began.
The first foreign aid plane has arrived in Tonga carrying much-needed water and supplies for the Pacific nation. New Zealand said its military plane landed at Tonga's main airport after workers cleared ash from the runway. Other planes and ships sent by New Zealand and Australia are on the way.
Saturday's eruption of an undersea volcano and tsunami wave saw volcanic ash blanket the island, posing a serious health risk. The ash and seawater have contaminated water supplies. At least 3 people have died and communications have been crippled, and Tonga has only just begun to re-establish global contact after 5 days cut off from the rest of the world. A thick layer of ash had covered the airport runway in the capital Nuku'alofa, preventing planes from landing. For days, rescue teams and hundreds of volunteers desperately worked to clear the tarmac using wheelbarrows and shovels in what New Zealand's Commander of Joint Forces, Rear Admiral Jim Gilmore, called a mammoth effort. Australia said the first of its 2 Boeing C-17 Globemaster planes, arriving on Thursday that were carrying supplies, also had a sweeping device on board to help keep the runway clear. Australian and New Zealand authorities have confirmed that the drops will be contactless to prevent the risk of COVID spreading to the island, which has seen just 1 case of the virus so far in the pandemic.
And on to some sports stories. The president of the Ghana Boxing Authority, Abraham Kotei-Nikwe, has promised to notify boxing bodies across the world to disregard former world champion Richard Comey as a Ghanaian boxer. He also revealed that Comey's manager, Michael Amubediako, had been banned from managing any Ghanaian boxer and also using Ghanaian boxers as punching bags outside the country without trainers in their corner.
Following a release by the GBA, which contained the indefinite suspension of the duo and Streetwise management for an act of disrespect and misconduct, Mr. Nikwe vowed to clamp down on any acts of indiscipline and disregard for the laws of the GBA. Quote, "These 2 persons badmouthed the GBA in an interview a fortnight ago, which has gone viral, and vowed never to pay the required percentage purse due the GBA," he revealed. Recalling what led to the incident, Mr. Nikwe said the GBA invited Mr. Amubediako to discuss why he traveled with Ghanaian boxers to Europe and America for fights without their trainers, thereby depriving them of victory. According to the GBA boss, Mr. Amubediako got infuriated in the heat of the discussion and walked out of the meeting. He said a few days later he and Comey were heard throwing tantrums at the GBA and its executives.
The Ministry of Youth and Sports says it has summoned the leadership of the Ghana Football Association to an emergency meeting on Friday, 21st January 2022 to urgently discuss and take decisions aimed at salvaging the performance of the Black Stars, especially in the next set of games.
A statement issued by the ministry, signed by the sports minister, Mustafa Yusuf, on Wednesday, a day after the humiliating exit of the Black Stars from the ongoing African Cup of Nations in Cameroon, said the entire country is extremely disappointed by the terrible performance and early exit of the Black Stars from the tournament, and that the ministry shares in the nation's sentiment. The ministry said it is committed to taking urgent steps to ensure that the Black Stars is restored to its status as a symbol of national pride for all Ghanaians and a powerhouse of African football.
And on to some entertainment news. A theatre director said she was saddened but not surprised by racist reaction to her play's black cast. The Royal Shakespeare Company's new production of Much Ado About Nothing is set in an Afrofuturistic world. Artistic director Erica Wyman said the disgraceful reaction came from a minority of people and discriminatory comments would not be tolerated.
The Stratford-upon-Avon Theatre announced the cast of its new production, directed by Roy Alexander Ways, in December. Michael Belligan and Akia Henry play lead roles, Benedict and Beatrice. While Ms. Wyman said the theaters had, quote, a proud record of lots of representation, she said the theater company had questioned, quote, have we often enough made sure that black artists can lead the work? In the wake of the murder of George Floyd, she said the company felt it, quote, incredibly important to look at ourselves and ask why there is so much racism in the world. Ms. Wyman added that complaints about the casting comes from a place of ignorance about what theater is and what storytelling is.
And finally, Rapper Vic Mensa has announced his freedom from police custody. The musician was arrested at the Dulles Airport in the United States on Saturday upon his return from Ghana. Mensa announced his release from custody to fans on Twitter on Wednesday, January 19, 2022, 4 days after his alleged arrest. And that's it for the news. Let's take a look again at our headlines. Ghana Health Service gives clearance for pregnant women to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Two more persons have been arrested by police over their alleged role in the sporadic shooting incident at NEMA. That the electronic transaction levy bill will be resubmitted when Parliament resumes on January 25, 2022. 10 prisoners have been found guilty of raping dozens of female inmates during a violent riot at an overcrowded jail in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And that's it for NEWSBOARD with me, Patricia Roxanne Hammond. We came to you live from our studios at Kwabenya Point 1.